Hello everyone, and welcome to my basic guide to Star Citizen. Since the game just got a major update and the next one isn't due for a while, I figured this was a good time to do this video. Now, if you don't know what Star Citizen is, there will be a link down in the description below to my previous video talking about Star Citizen alongside a similar game called Elite Dangerous. So if you don't know much about the game, that's a good place to start. Now, Star Citizen always draws a lot of attention, which means there are new people looking into it all the time, and it can be a bit overwhelming at first. So this video is going to be covering Star Citizen from the point of view of someone who's been following it for quite a while, and who has spent a good amount of time playing the released content. Now, I will mainly be focusing on the content available in Star Citizen at the moment, because the people getting into Star Citizen really want to know what they'll be getting for their money at this point in time, although I will touch on what is coming in the future, as I feel it gives more context as to why you might want to pledge. So, the game is currently in the alpha stage of its development, and the only content that has been released to the backers at the moment anyway, is the hangar module and the arena commander. The hangar module is a virtual hangar that allows you to view the ships that you've received for pledging money to Star Citizen. The hangar, along with the arena commander, recently underwent an update which introduced several changes, which include being able to use different hangars, whereas before you could only use the hangar that came standard with the ship you'd purchased. But now you can use the hangar that is most to your liking. They have also made it so that all the hangars are of a similar size and can scale to house any of the ships, so you can have any ship in any hangar now. The hangars have also been remodeled, and in my opinion they look a lot better now. And then, on the other hand, we have the Arena Commander, which is Star Citizen's only playable content at the moment. It's basically a space combat arena, where you can test out your ship against AI and other players. Currently, it has two maps, both of which are fairly large. You are fighting in space after all. 4 game modes, which are Battle Royale, which is a free-for-all, Squad Battle, which is a team versus team, Capture the Core, which is Capture the Flag, and Vandal Swarm, which is Horde mode. There is also now a third map, but it isn't being used for combat, but for a new game mode that was just introduced, the Murray Cup, which is a racing game mode and allows us to take our ships and race them around an epic racetrack. There are only 5 flyable ships at the moment, however. The Aurora, which is the basic starter ship, the 300i, which is kind of the luxury upgrade from the Aurora, the 350R, which is the racing version of the 300i, the M50, which is another racing focused ship, and lastly the Hornet, which is a pure combat focused ship. Now, you'll receive either the Aurora, the 300i, or the Hornet to use in the Arena Commander, depending on what is closest to the amount of money you have pledged, if it is not a package containing the 350R or the M50, as they are limited timed ships. So, having played a fair bit of the Arena Commander, what do I think of it? Well, overall I have enjoyed my time with it quite a bit. There are many good things going for it. Firstly, it does look incredible. It's definitely CryEngine 3 working at its best. I think even though it's in alpha, it's probably among the best looking games I've ever seen. In particular, the lighting and damage models of the ships are just outstanding. And while there are only 2 maps available, for the fighting at least, since they don't play as much as a role as they would in, let's say, a normal multiplayer FPS, because it's space there isn't much around, I don't find that having only 2 maps hurts the enjoyment at all. Now, next up is something that was in fact changed very recently, and that's the flight model for Arena Commander. Now, I really like the flight model and aiming how they worked before, so this change isn't something I'm totally sold on yet. In the past, when flying around, it was easy to go your top speed and not have to worry about blacking out, unless you undid your G-Safe, which was the ship's inbuilt G-force safety limiters. So if you didn't turn them off, you were generally okay. Now, however, they have increased the speed of all the ships, and this means it's far easier for your character to black out and lose control, especially on the faster ships. Now, this I think is an improvement, as it forces you to control and monitor your speed to a degree without impacting on your enjoyment. However, next up is the aiming, and this change has had a huge amount of impact. Beforehand, when you would target an enemy ship, if you kept them locked on, your ship's guns would adjust for variables and your shots would hit them. Now, however, the ships will display these variables in the form of leading markers that the pilot must fire on to hit the enemy's ship. Now, this has made hitting your target a lot harder, as these targets are very small, and this has become a problem for me personally because my preferred control method for Star Citizen up to this point has been a gamepad, which I should also let everyone know has basically been rendered almost unusable with the update, because the controllers now have a huge dead zone that you will either have to manually fix yourself by editing files to get it working at an acceptable level, or just use another control method. But even with the fix, there is just not enough precision with the gamepad to consistently hit the target. Mouse and keyboard, on the other hand, while being precise enough to stay on the target, still suffer from a lack of custom key rebinding, which leads to less control over the ship's movement in general. And if you want to fix this, like the gamepad, you need to manually edit files. This also means that joystick functionality still remains low, as you can't edit your layout there either. Now, that a major patch broke one of the game's commonly used control methods, and that the remaining methods are still lacking core features, is a big disappointment to me, and I hope that they will focus on fixing this as soon as possible, as it is very important. Besides that, things remain mostly the same. The flight model still gives you a good deal of choice over how you want to fly by manipulating the game's decoupling mechanic, which allows you to lock your travel direction while still being able to maneuver your ship's hull. This allows you to do things like when you're jousting with another ship, as you fly past them, you can decouple your ship and quickly spin around and couple again to be right on their tail chasing them, without needing to do a wide turn. Also, if someone is shooting you from behind, you can decouple, turn to face them and return fire while still flying away from them. So, that's basically all that we have access to at the moment. And with the lowest entry price for all this content being $45, buying in for this alone is still a pretty hard sell. However, when most people pledge money to Star Citizen, it's not really the content available now that interests them, but all the content that is coming in the future. Firstly, the Arena Commander is not yet complete. The next big thing to be added is likely going to be the multi-crew ships like the Freelancer and Constellation, along with a few more of the single crew ships. But this is still months away from being completed, so we will all just have to wait and be a little bit patient. After all that, there is the remaining content for Arena Commander, which should include new maps along with the implementation of the FPS boarding mechanics, and the thing I'm looking forward to most, the last game mode, Capture the Idris. Now, for those who don't know, the Idris frigate is the largest and most expensive ship that has been sold up to this point in Star Citizen, and I'm hoping that this game mode will work kind of like space battles from Star Wars Battlefront 2, where you'll have players from both sides fighting each other in space while also trying to weaken the opposing Idris, so that you can board it and engage in FPS battles on the ship itself while trying to take it over. That would be pretty awesome. So when we have all that, and that all being delivered, the Arena Commander will be pretty much content complete, and we'll move on to the thing that has most people looking forward to, and that is the main game itself. The Arena Commander is basically just an implementation demo to give the backers content and allow the developers to test and improve the mechanics before adding them to the full game. So, for those who don't know, the game itself is going to be split into two main parts. Squadron 42, which will be the game's single player campaign, which will be based in the Star Citizen universe and feature a branching story. And then we have the main show, the multiplayer persistent universe, which is what most people are referring to when they're talking about Star Citizen. This will feature such things as spaceship combat, FPS combat, planetary exploration, trading, and tons more, all based in a fully simulated galaxy, and that all sounds pretty cool to me. And I will cover it as more details are released in the future. But it's also likely going to be years before we get the persistent universe. They are aiming to have a small section of it available to backers towards the end of 2015, but I wouldn't really be surprised if it took till mid-2016 for it to really begin to take form, because of all the delays they are sadly suffering from. But who knows? It's almost impossible to tell how far along in development they are, because it's being done in pieces by a bunch of different studios. However, even without the persistent universe, within the next year or so, we should have the Arena Commander completed, along with the Planetside module, which will allow us to visit other players' hangars, alongside places like bars, and talk to people, buy upgrades, and stuff like that. And rounding it out, there should be some, or maybe even all of the single player content up and running. So as you can see, there is still a lot to come even before we get to the persistent universe. And I think that's one of the reasons so many people have pledged money to Star Citizen. Even if they can't deliver on everything they've promised, likely even a section of it will be worth your money. So hearing all that, let's say you want to get involved. Now remember, you're not guaranteed to receive any content besides what has already been released, but the developers do keep the community regularly informed and seem dedicated to deliver all that they are able to, which is always a good thing. So, to those wanting a simple point of entry, you can head over to their website and purchase the Arena Commander Starter Package, which costs $45 and will give you access to the Arena Commander along with the future beta content and the game when itself is released. However, you'll not receive access to the remaining alpha content like the Planetside module I talked about before as default, as all the spots for that has already been filled by previous backers. So you'll have to pay extra if you want to get access to that content. And it's looking like each module will run you around $5, and I believe there are 2 to 3 modules planning to be released, so around 10 to 15 for all the alpha access should you want it. The game also won't have any subscriptions cost, so you only have to pay once. But for those looking to spend more, or who want more details about what their options are, there will be a follow-up video to this one, which I'll be doing a basic buyer's guide to Star Citizen, talking about all the packages, so that you can pick out the one that you think is best for you, depending on your price range and the role that you want your ship to perform. But for now, that pretty much finishes up this basic guide to Star Citizen. So I hope the video was helpful to you in some way, and if you want to see more content like this, feel free to subscribe to the channel, I would appreciate it. And to everyone, I hope you all have a good day, and thanks for watching.